Man, it's been a long week. It's been a long week. I talk to a lot of people, man, and one of the things I've been noticing is a lot of people right now are just tired. People are tired. They're wore out. They're feeling drained. Life just seems like it's just beating people up. They just taking it on the chin. And I know Pastor's been talking about the Renaissance Church, talking about how we have to be in a position where we're able to not only defend our faith, but while we're doing that, we got to be able to continue to grow in our faith as well. And sometimes when you hear these things, it's like, man, it could be overwhelming. You can hear it. And when they mention, man, we need you to do this, first thing comes to your mind, we be honest, you be like, psst. Somebody just knocked the air out your ball, just psst. You just like, man, something else. And I'm reminded of a time, I like to read the Old Testament a lot. I'm glad for the New Testament. Praise God for the New Testament. But I like to read the Old Testament because it kind of shows the heart of God. There's a lot of stories in there. It's a story about a man named Nehemiah, and he had the responsibility of rebuilding the wall in Jerusalem. So, of course, anytime you're trying to do something for God, you're going to have a heavy opposition. Somebody's going to try to stop you from doing it, mainly the devil, mainly people who don't understand the things of God. So they're going to look at you like you're crazy, so they're all going to have something negative to say. They're all going to try to cause confusion and sow discord. So while he's trying to do that, it's this dude named Sanballat. That's an interesting name. His name is Sanballat. And I looked up what his name meant. His name was enemy in secret. So a lot of times when you're trying to do things for God, we have the enemies in secret. And when I say that, the first thing you want to do is start thinking about the people in your life that start knock you down. But a lot of times the enemy in secret is ourselves. A lot of times we are our own enemy in secret because we distract ourselves from doing the things of God. We want to put the blame everywhere else. But a lot of times we're the enemy in secret. But as he was trying to build this wall, of course, they were trying to stop him. The wall laid in ruins. They had a bunch of rubble, sticks, whatever. It didn't really seem like they had the adequate supplies to build this wall. So while he's trying to build a wall, it's a group of guys that were helping him. After a while, they were like, man, we tired, man. We can't keep doing this. Kind of like us, when we ask to do something else, we feel like we don't really have the supplies or the things that we need. We kind of get discouraged. We kind of feel drained, like, psst, man, look, I can't do it. And then what they began to do was go to other people and tell them about how they were tired and try to persuade other people not to do the thing that they were trying to do because they were drained, they were tired, and they didn't want to do it on their own. When you're trying to do things for God, people come against you. Sometimes they don't want to do it on their own. Sometimes they want to get a group of people, and sometimes that can be intimidating. So when I think about the things that we're asked to do, it's easy to come in and assume the worst and just say, you know what, people just don't care about God. People just don't care about the things of God. People, they just want to do what they want to do. But the Bible that we read said we should hope all things, right? So before we come in and make these accusations, I kind of want to take a different perspective. Maybe it's not that people just don't want to do it. Maybe it's a fear of doing it. Maybe people are just tired. Maybe the people are just overwhelmed because, especially in our church, and I talk to a lot of different people, like I said, it's some very intelligent people in the faith, very smart people, educators, all kind of people. So when you say these things, it's not that the concepts are too hard for them to grasp. It's not like the information is too hard for them to learn. But what's the disconnect? What's keeping people from putting their all into the situation? Maybe people are just overwhelmed. Maybe people are just stressed out. Maybe people are dealing with anxiety. Maybe they're dealing with trauma. Maybe they're dealing with the fact that, you asking me to do something I've never done before. The last time I tried to step out and do something I've never done before, it didn't end so well. So people begin to get discouraged. The scripture I'm going to use today, coming from the New Living Translation, is going to be 1 Peter 5 and 8. And for context, during the time of this scripture, it was a Roman ruler in charge by the name of Nero. And he was persecuting the church. He was killing believers in gruesome ways. This man was so gruesome, he murdered his own mother. He also murdered 2 of his wives. So this was the dude that was opposed to the church during this time. So we're going to tap into this scripture. Y'all let me know when y'all have it. And I'm coming from the New Living Translation. This says, stay alert. Watch out for your great enemy, the devil. He prowls around like a roaring lion looking for someone to devour. So you think about it. He's prowling around like a roaring lion. This is the devil. You have a seat. This is the devil we're talking about. So when you look at National Geographic, you look at something, you look at how a lion hunts. When they hunting, most of the time they really don't growl. Most of the time they hide in the grass. They're ready to pounce on you. They trying to sneak you. But it says this devil is riding. He's riding around like a roaring lion. So when a lion is roaring, you hear a lion roaring, you're gonna stop what you're doing and try to figure out what's going on. So I thought about how does the devil attack us? And most of the time it's not, of course we know by now, we're mature enough to know it ain't in no suit with the red stuff, with the horns and all that kind of stuff. We know it ain't gonna be a lot of times something just point blank and obvious. What he does is attack us in our mind with a bunch of negative thoughts. So when you're trying to do stuff, what kind of thoughts stick out in your mind the most? A lot of times it's the negative thoughts that's sticking out in your mind. Man, you can't do that. Man, he want me to do too much. Man, I already had to do this. I had to take care of these kids. Man, I'm trying to figure out how we're going to get groceries. Man, I can't do this. I can't do that. And he really tried to do it to finesse you out of the plan of God. So he just yelling, stop. You can't do it. You don't got what it takes. And a lot of times some of our experiences go along with the things that he's saying to make us feel that way. Because like I said, it's not always a lack of willingness when it comes to the thing of God. Sometimes we're just paralyzed by fear. Sometimes it could just be low self-esteem. Sometimes you're looking at yourself like you're good for nothing. You're looking at yourself like you can't accomplish anything. You're looking at yourself like you're a failure. You never really had anybody to invest into your life or tell you, man, you're going to be this, you're going to be that. You feel like you've been doing everything on your own, and every time you take one step forward, you take two steps back. And you get sick and tired of going through that cycle. Sometimes you just have a lack of confidence. Sometimes you look at yourself and say, why would God want me to do this? Why would anybody want me to do anything? I remember I experienced depression. I had a depression so low that I didn't even want to get out of bed. I looked at the day like, man, here go another day of nothing, another day of failure, another day of, man, why am I even here? I had no purpose. I woke up not knowing what the day was going to hold, and I didn't even care. I wake up, I get high, I get drunk, I sit on the couch, play video games, go to sleep, get up and do it again. And I was a grown man, like I wasn't working nowhere. I was juggling a little bit, making a little money, and I just settled for that. I said, this is what I seen. This is working for me. Goals, aspirations, all this different stuff. I really didn't even think about it. I said, it's not possible. Sometimes you might just feel insignificant. Sometimes you feel like the people whose lives you're in, they don't show you no attention. They don't show you no love. They can care less about what you're saying. They don't take your feelings into consideration. Sometimes you're in a room full of people and you feel like you're in here by yourself. You feel like you're insignificant. And a lot of people who deal with anxiety, they deal with different kind of trauma, they deal with those kind of emotions. So when you're feeling like this, you're already uncomfortable with who you are. When somebody asks you to do something that's beyond your comfort zone, it just feels like, man, it just dropping the weight of the world on you. Sometimes you have these moments in your life that you just stay frozen in. Sometimes things happen to us, that one tragic moment, and you just stuck there. No matter how hard you try to get out, you just feel like you're stuck. It could be the death of a loved one. You could be a victim of some kind of perverse act. It could have been a car accident. Whatever it was a traumatic moment that had you stuck and feel like you couldn't move forward. So when you ask to overcome that or to accomplish a certain task, you feel overwhelmed again. You're just like, man, it could be something small. Take the trash out. Take the trash out, man. You just feel like you just drained and you just wore out. So I think about when we come to church and Pastor Bones is like, hey, man, y'all need to be studying this word, man. I need y'all to dig into it. And, you're getting hit with the Greek. You're getting hit with the Hebrew. And this stuff's not really hard to find. You can go to Google and say, what's the Hebrew definition of this word, the Greek? But when you had a long week already, you're tired, doing everything that you wanted to do pretty much. Sometimes we're so tired from doing the things that we want to do, we have no energy for the things that God wants us to do. But you're so tired from doing the thing that you want to do or so tired from different things, when it comes down to the things of God, you just don't have the strength, you don't have the energy that you need. Some people have been exposed to things that they haven't been exposed to. Sometimes that affects the way you think. Sometimes you might have been exposed to domestic violence, both physical and mental. I think the mental violence is probably more hazardous than the physical, because once you're mentally defeated, like I said earlier, when I was mentally defeated, I didn't do anything. I just gave up. I just felt discouraged about everything. Sometimes you're exposed to pornography at an early age. So now the way you look at relationships is perverse. You're looking at women and looking at men like sexual objects instead of people. Sometimes you don't really know how to love or be loved because you have a tainted view of sexuality. You have a tainted view of intimacy. So you really don't know how to overcome those barriers. Sometimes you've been exposed to drugs or alcohol at an early age. I could be honest, I was young. I was a kid, probably about 12 years old. I just sneaked my dad beer out the refrigerator and go outside. Until that day, I had one of them mean hangovers. Mean hangover. And they just looked at me and said, "That's what you get for stealing and drinking." A couple years went by, and I dove into it again. But that affected me. Like, I thought these things were normal. Like, you exposed to these things. Like I said, the pornography, you exposed to drugs and alcohol. You growing up as a man, they're like, man, this is what men do. You looking at women like a piece of meat instead of a woman. You looking at them just for your pleasure. Some women are raised, it's a new day. Like, it ain't just men. Like, women just looking at men like, hey, I can think of a couple things I want to do. You know what I'm saying? It just, it go both ways. We've been exposed to things at an early age men I've been exposed to. And these things, if they don't keep you frozen in that moment, they can definitely shape your worldview in the way that you view certain situations. So we're talking about anxiety. We're talking about trauma. So we're going to talk about the author of this book, who was Peter. So I think Peter experienced a good amount of trauma. Think about you walked with Jesus 3.5 years. 3.5 years, you've seen the miracles. You've seen the wonders. You've seen him raise people from the dead. You've seen him heal the blind, heal the sick, do all this stuff. But then he gets taken away. Not only gets taken away, you see him get beaten, and you see him get hung on the cross. We look at Peter. He probably was so traumatized that when they asked him, did he know him? He was like, no, I don't know him. I don't know. But he got so scared, he started cussing the people out. I seen what y'all did to him. I don't know nothing about him. I ain't seen it. I don't know nothing. Traumatized. Like, man, y'all ain't finna do me like I did him. Y'all beat this man 30-something an hour. Then you finna hang him on the cross? Nah, I'm good. I don't know him. Well, let's think about Thomas. Everybody know Thomas is Doubting Thomas. Old Doubting Thomas. We should throw our name behind it. Old Doubting James. Old Doubting whoever. Because we have moments where we lose faith too. But let's talk about Thomas. Thomas in John, probably chapter 11, around verse 16. You got to go there now, but just check it out. It was during the time when the apostles and disciples, they were facing like heavy oppression. And it was a destination they were headed to, and they were like, man, for sure it's going to be trouble waiting on us. And good old Thomas was like, shoot, bump that, let's go, let's ride. Hey, it is what it is. Whatever they got, we're going to do it. It's the same Thomas that's now referred to as Doubting Thomas, because what happened? He seen his best friend die. He seen Jesus hung on that cross. So that Thomas that was ride or die, ready to do whatever, once he saw him hung up on that cross, he was like, man, I don't believe none of that. Peter, he finna go back to the boat and go fishing. Right. Thomas, he doing his own thing, like, man, save me from all that. I'm finna go do this over here. Let's talk about the woman at the well. She shows up. She's at the well. Jesus saying, man, give me some water. And she like, man, if you knew my background, if you knew what I was dealing with, you wouldn't ask me for nothing. Then he told her, I know you are. You got 5 husbands. Now, those of us in the room who are married, you got one spouse. And that's work. On both ends, you got to work on yourself, and you got to work on your relationship. So imagine the trauma and the fatigue and the tiredness is going to come into play after you've been married 5 times. You putting out for 5 people. You serving 5 people. Trying to please 5 different people. Imagine how that messes with you psychologically. After the first failed marriage, you're looking like, man. After the second one, after a while, you start looking at yourself like, maybe I just don't have what it takes. Maybe I don't deserve to be loved. Maybe I don't know what I'm doing. Maybe I'm not fit to be married. Maybe I'm just trash. Maybe low self-esteem. All these things start settling in to the point where you just feel so defeated, you don't really know who you are no more. 5 marriages? That's a lot. Is that any of us, though? We've seen God do so many things, but something happened that made us question our faith. God done brought us out of time, brought us situations time and time again. But when the right thing hits you, when you lose the right thing or the right thing happen to you, I don't care who you are, I don't care how much faith you think you got, you're going to start asking some questions. God, where are you? You get frustrated. Let's be real. You get frustrated with God sometimes. You like, God, I know you were on time, God, but I know the time went up an hour. Maybe you didn't get the memo. And you get frustrated. You like, man, God. And you don't understand that he's shaping you. You don't want to hear all that. He's just shaping you and molding you into your purpose. You don't want to hear that. You're looking like, man, I need a solution. I need something to shake. I need something to happen right now because all the spiritual talk, I hear it. I've been going to church. I've been tithing. I've been doing this. I've been praying. And life is still smacking me around. So unless you got something else to tell me, say that right now. Sometimes you just want to wallow in your pity. Sometimes we just want to wallow in those negative emotions, those negative feelings. You want help, but then when it comes, it don't come in the way that you want it, you push it away. Maybe you might have had an upbringing that wasn't the best. Maybe you're so dysfunctional that you thought dysfunctional things were normal. Maybe you saw stuff that was just crazy. I remember in my neighborhood, there was nothing to hear gunshots and different things of that nature. I'm not thinking about no PTSD or nothing like that. I'm thinking like, oh, man, we just don't go on that street after a certain time. Or you just cut the lights off and you're going to hit the floor. Like, that was just normal stuff. That ain't normal. That stuff affects you. Like I was talking about earlier, being exposed to this sexual stuff, that ain't normal. Society tells you these things are normal, but it's not normal, and it affects you in some shape, form, or fashion. Maybe you're one of those people that keep investing in situations that have failed, and now you have nothing left to give. Anybody in here been married 5 times? But you've been in some situation where you feel like you gave it your all, and you didn't yield the return that you thought you should get for your investment. Not once, but several times. So after a while, you're like, you know what, man? I ain't studying these folks. Every time I try to do something, these folks slap me in my mouth. I ain't doing nothing else. Bump it. So now you're over here by yourself in isolation, in prime position for the devil to pick you apart. We're talking about a roaring lion. Like I said earlier, when a lion is roaring, that's intimidating. I ain't been in no. I told folks I ain't going to Africa. They were like, man, we're going to have a concert over there. I said, I ain't going. I said, I'm going to holler at y'all. I'm not going. Chanel will tell you. People say, oh, we're going to go to Africa next year. All right, that what's up. Y'all do y'all thing. Like, wildlife, James. I came out of East Atlanta. That was enough for me. I don't need to go over here with no giraffe, no lion. I don't need that. But you kept investing in situations. You keep going into situations, and it's not working for you. Some of these things I mentioned, some of y'all may have been through 1 or 2 of them. Some people in here have been through all of these things. So the thing about it is, when you're being asked to do more, in your mind, you frustrated because you're like, man, all this stuff I got going on, people keep asking me for stuff. But people out on the outside really don't know that. They really don't know what's going on. We don't really talk to one another, so we really can't build the kind of relationship where we can really see what's going on with one another. One of Satan's biggest lies is that you are all alone, that you're the only one going through this stuff. I'm going to go to 1 Peter 5 and 9 real quick. Because a lot of times we feel like our situation is just independent. We feel like we're the only one going through it because the emotions are real to us, the feelings are real to us, the thoughts are real to us. And to be honest with you, we really don't care how nobody else feeling in that moment. This is what I'm going through. This is how I feel. Yeah, it ain't nothing new under the sun. But under the sun I'm standing under, this is what I'm going through, and I don't want to hear it. 1 Peter 5 and 9. Stand firm against him and be strong in your faith. Remember that your family of believers all over the world is going through the same kind of suffering you are. They're going through the same thing. Now, for context, he was talking to believers that were being killed and persecuted because of their faith. But in contrast, a lot of us are dying on the inside because we're lacking faith. So they're dying for their faith. We're dying because we don't have it. We're dying because we lost hope. We're discouraged. We're drained. We'll come in here and we'll smile every week. We act like everything cool. We come in the door. The first thing we're thinking about when we come in is what time service is going to be over. Why you coming somewhere that you waiting to be over? If I'm going somewhere and the first thing I'm worrying about is what time it's going to end, I'm just not going to come. Don't come. If you don't see no value in it, why come? We come in, we looking around, we sneak this into everybody, criticizing folks, talking about folks behind their back. Like, why come? And that's what we gonna do. But then, when life starts smacking you around, ain't nobody showing no love. You don't. What love have you shown? And I get it sometimes. Sometimes we do show love to people and they turn around and they don't reciprocate what we got. But even then, you're still supposed to love people. And so even when it's hard. And we looking like, man, I don't know, I just ain't at that level. And you're right. You just ain't at that level. That's why you just ain't at the level you want to be in your life, because you just don't want to do the thing God wants you to do. You can't just have what you want. You can't come to God and say, God, give me this. But he asked you to do something. Well, I just ain't ready for that yet. You can't pimp God. And then what to do you? I want to see a relationship. Well, I just ain't ready for all that shit. But he eating all your groceries. He laying up in your house, but he ain't ready for. He here every day spending your money, but he ain't ready for nothing serious. That's what we doing to God. God like, I need you to read your word. I ain't trying to do all that right now. But God, can you bless me with the rent money? You trying to pimp God? Let me tell you how merciful God is. It's, as foolish as we are, as many mistakes as we make, as sinful as we are, God will still come and meet us in our situation. So we're talking about Peter. Peter was the one, he told me, you're going to turn on me. When the folks start throwing out that jail time, you can be like, they start throwing out them sentences, you're going to fold on me. Like, nah, but I ain't going to snitch. I ain't going to say nothing. I got your back. I don't know him. I ain't seen him. I don't know him. But God is so merciful that even after he died, he came back and he met those guys. And when they came into his prison, they said they felt something was burning on the inside. And he came back and showed them, like, look, bro, even though you flexed on me, even though you turned your back on me, I still got you. The same thing I said, that you're going to be the rock, that you're going to have this influence and do these things for the church of God, that still stands. Because I know who I am. You just didn't know who you were. So now that you know what I know what I'm talking about, and I know who you are, now you can trust me. Because you turned your back on me, you folded on me, but I'm still here showing you love. So God is merciful. Had that been us, if we go and do a crime together or we go do something together, and you told on me or you said, man, I don't know him, man. Or we were around some people that we don't know. I don't know him, man. Shoot. I ain't never seen him in my life. It's going to be a problem when we get back home. We get to the house, you will have some explaining to do. But God is not like us. Then you got a situation like Thomas, again, just showing God's mercy. He was bold. Then he like, man, you know what, man? I ain't studying none of that junk, man. Y'all believe in all that. I seen bro get strung up. I seen him get killed. It's over with. But how many people know that Jesus will make a special trip sometimes just for you? When you look at it, Thomas is pretty much the only one in it that didn't believe. Now, this God, he got a lot of stuff he could have been doing. He could have just kept it moving. But he said, just because Thomas don't believe, I'm going to drop in on Thomas. He pull up on Thomas and say, hey, man, touch the holes in my side. Touch my hand. And Thomas like, wow. And he was like, blessed are the ones who don't believe. You see, you believe, but you have faith because you've seen. He said, blessed are the ones that have not seen and still believe. But he still came back. So when you're in that situation, when you're traumatized, you're feeling down, whatever it is, your reason for giving up on God or giving up on the things of God, Jesus understands that. And he will come meet you in that circumstance and show you, like, look, I know you hurt. I know you're going through pain. I haven't forgot about you, though. I'm still here. I'm still here to provide what you need. We talk about the woman at the well. Now, for all intents and purposes, the woman had 5 wives. She's feeling insignificant. She feels like she didn't have nothing to value, nothing to give. You think about 5 husbands. It's a special name that they have for women who get around, you know what I'm saying? Like, so that's what you're pretty much looking at. So, no value, don't understand love. A lot of things are just kind of fuzzy in your head right now. You're just like, man, look, I'm just living day by day. Whoever want me, they can have me, whatever they want to give me. I don't know. I'm going to give it up. But this woman came in contact with Jesus. She came in contact with Jesus. Here I met a man who knew everything about me. she came across, she had no previous reference for real love. Obviously, you've been married 5 times. Now you have a reference to what love looks like. So it says she came to the altar, or came to the well, with a bucket. But when she met Jesus, she left the bucket and ran off and went to evangelize. And I think something key that I noticed is she left the bucket behind. I think that's what happened. We come to Jesus with all this baggage, with a bucket full of shame. We got a bucket full of guilt. We got a bucket full of defeat. And a lot of times we come to church and we carry that same bucket back on home with us. But this woman went and left the bucket and went and became the first evangelist of the gospel. So what we're seeing is Jesus will meet you where you are. And let's be real about it, too. It's okay to admit if you're scared to do this stuff. Because think about it. If you at the barbershop, a Hebrew Israelite come in, he know you're a Christian, he start going in on you. Just hitting you with that stuff, and you don't know it. You be kind of intimidated. Well, shoot, oh, man. You put me on the spot, I don't know. Like, you're going to be shook. So when you ask to do these things, it's okay to be scared. It's understandable. But the thing about it is you could be scared, but you got to do it anyway. Because what you're saying is when you're scared and you allow that to make you stop, you're saying that the thing that you're scared of is more powerful than the God that's propelling you to do it. And I don't say that to be inconsiderate. I don't say that to be, no matter what you're going through, bump that, tough it out. I understand it's a process sometimes. Healing has to take place. But if you're scared, don't let that be the reason why. Most of the people you see in the Bible were scared. We just talked about Peter. He was scared. You look at Paul, I'm pretty sure he was scared. John the Baptist, Jesus said, the greatest man ever lived. This man seen the dove come down, heard the voice. The James Earl Jones, this is my beloved son, who I am well pleased. He get locked up. What's the question he asking? Is he the one or should we seek another? What you mean is he the one or should we seek another? You seen it. But it's okay to be scared. Even with all that fear, Jesus said no greater man has lived than John the Baptist. So fear doesn't disqualify you. The lack of faith is what's going to stop you from accomplishing the things that God wants you to accomplish. So we're going to start right here. We're going to look at 1 Peter verse 5 and 6. And we're going to talk about how to get over this fear a little bit. Verse 5 and 6. And I'll be done shortly. I ain't going to be too long. It says, so humble yourselves under the mighty power of God, and at the right time he will lift you up in honor. So that's key. The first thing, if you scared or you overwhelmed or you feeling drained or you tired or you just feel like you don't have what it takes, the first thing you need to do is just humble yourself. Humble yourself. Go to God and say, look, God, the stuff you're asking me to do, personally, I don't feel like I have what it takes to do it. I'm tired. I'm frustrated. You ask me to do something. Or to be, I don't want to do it. I got enough going on right now on my plate. You ask me to do this extra stuff. I really ain't feeling it. I don't want to do it, God. And then he will humble you. And he will say, take a deep breath real quick. What if I ain't feel like letting you exhale? What if I ain't feel like letting you even come into my presence and pray in the first place? What if I ain't feel like allowing your child to continue living? What if I didn't feel like letting you continue to have that home or that car, or whatever it is that you got? What if I say, I just don't feel like being God for a second in your life. Let me just step out real quick. So you got to humble you. You got to know who you're serving. And we serve an intelligent God. The things he's asking you to do, he's not going to ask you to do stuff that's impossible. He asks you to do stuff that seems impossible to you, but he know he's behind you, so whatever you think is impossible with him is going to be possible. So you got to humble yourself. God will show you how low you got to go. He'll take you low enough for you to know you need him. And then when he lifts you up, it'll be in a way that people know he's the only one that's responsible for it. But you got to humble yourself for that. If you're walking around like we all do and try to handle situations on our own, instead of coming to God a lot of the time, we're like, man, God ain't moving fast enough. Let me do this. Let me do that. And let me start this business. Let me do this. Let me do that. Let me try to go over here and talk to this person. Let me do that. Let me make this phone call. We try to handle everything on our own. They had the little saying that said, Jesus, take the wheel. I told my homeboy, I said, man, we treat Jesus like AAA. We don't let him take the wheel. When we break down, then we call him to come rescue us after we done messed up. So we're going to move on to verse 5 and 7. And a lot of folks like to quote verse 5 and 7, chapter 5, verse 7. But if you ain't got verse 5, chapter 5, verse 6, 5 and 7 is going to be pretty hard for you. Because you got to humble yourself to do what he's saying do in verse 5 and 7. He says, give all your worries and cares to God, for he cares about you. You have to humble yourself to give your cares and your worries to God. Because when you walking in pride, or you walking in fear, or you walking in anger, first thing you're going to do is try to handle everything on your own. You're not thinking about giving it to God. You're thinking about doing it yourself. And I look at another translation. It says, cast your cares on the Lord because he cares for you. So you think about Peter. Peter was a fisherman. So he using these references. He's like, cast your care. When they cast the net, they take it and they toss it. He don't hold on to the net. He don't keep the net close. They toss the net. He's saying, cast your cares because he cares for you. So unless you understand that you can really trust God and you can just cast that net out there, you can just cast your cares on God, you're going to stay stuck in the same spot. You're going to be on the boat like they were, trying to catch fish until Jesus came on the boat and said, throw the net on the other side. So think about that. You got experienced fishermen. These folks will raise the fish. You got Jesus pop up on the boat. He's a carpenter, and he's telling you how to fish. You're like, throw the net on the other side. You're like, look, bro, no offense. We've been doing this most of our life. You're a carpenter or whatever, go make a table, you know what I'm saying? Make a little armoire, you know what I'm saying? Go do what you do. You telling us how to fish, we good, but they threw the net to the other side of the fish, and they had so much fish they couldn't even bring it in. And what you're seeing right here is you have to trust Jesus over your experiences. So like I said before, those traumatic experiences, those things that bring anxiety, that kind of had you stuck in that one spot, that shape your worldview and make you feel like you're not capable of doing anything for God, we have to get in a spot to where we trust God, we trust Jesus over our experiences or the things that we think we know. For one, he gave you the brain that you use and to think. So you can't outthink the man who gave you your brain. Once we trust him, though, we'll begin to see things that we once thought were impossible or very much possible if they in his will. I put that if they in his will, I say that strongly. Because you start feeling like, well, shoot, I'll humble myself before God, you know. I did what he asked me to do. I ran by Scott Evans. You know, I seen that challenger out there. So maybe since I've been obedient and I pray for this challenger, I may be able to go to the lot and get a little special deal on it. He's like, nah, that's not my will. It's a challenge for you to humble yourself. It's a challenge for you to listen to the things I'm telling you to do. It's a challenge for you. Don't put the buggy before the horse. You worry about material possessions. I'm worried about your soul. I'm worried about my will. I'm worrying about the purpose. You still looking at what you can get for yourself. You're still trying to do things on your own. What he's saying is, the reason why I'm telling you to do this stuff is because it was never about you in the first place. It was about me the whole time. So if I'm asking you to do something, I'm intelligent. I'm trying to do it through you. And for you, you need to recognize it's a privilege to be used in the first place and just trust me. Pastor Mo was talking in Bible study like last week, I believe. He talked about the Israelites when they're going into the promised land. Now, keep in mind, it's the same God. Split the Red Sea, manna falling out the sky, turned the river into blood, plague in Egypt. All these miraculous things happen. But then when they get to the promised land, they see these giants. They're like, man, shoot, we ain't going over there. And God is like, what else do I got to do to make you trust me? What else do I got to do to make you believe in me? What else I got to do to show you that I'm on your side? And God got so frustrated with them. He was like, you know what, man? You ain't got to trust me. Just stay where you at. I'm going to let these guys go over. Y'all going to stay right here and die in the wilderness. And you know, that was the Old Testament, but the heart of God is still the same. Now, he showed us a lot more grace. Thank you. That in the New Testament. But there's some things in your life that God asking you to do, and you keep giving them an excuse on why you can't do it. And then you wonder why you stuck where you at. You wonder why you're still in that wilderness. You wonder why you're still in that space. You've been running around 11 years on a 40-day journey because you don't want to trust God. And once again, not being insensitive to what you've been through, but you got to trust him. And sometimes the hand of God looks like a counselor. It don't have to be, it ain't no spooky thing gonna come out and just lay on you. Like, sometimes you gotta humble yourself before God, say, I need help, and find you a counselor to talk to. Find somebody who has expertise in the things you're dealing with, and God can use that to free you. God works in a lot of different ways. It ain't just waiting at home like, man, one day God just gonna free me from this. No, he gave us a mind. Think. Use it. Because the reason why I'm saying these things is because, well, it's too much going on right now. And I don't want to believe, about myself or anybody else in the faith that we just don't care about the things of God. The things of God are not a priority. Because I was talking about Nehemiah earlier, and of course he came in. They was building a wall, and it was funny while they were building the wall, and the guy came up on them. They said they had the supplies in one hand, and they had the sword in the other hand. So while they were building the wall, they were protected from intruders. So essentially, that's what Pastor Moan is asking us to do. That's what we're supposed to be doing. We're studying to be able to defend our faith while we, at the same time, trying to grow in our faith. And that should be important. That should really matter to us. But if it doesn't matter to you, which I don't want to believe, then we're very similar to the people in Haggai chapter 1. Because after Nehemiah, they rebuilt the wall of Jerusalem. It was 13 years later, and the temple inside the wall still laid in ruins. So what was going on with the people of God that the outside looked good, but the inside, the temple still laid in ruins? And then God had to send a prophet to come and chunk people off like, man, how y'all talking about y'all houses and all this kind of stuff, and my house just laying ruined? Then he said, you're thirsty, you're drinking, but you're still thirsty. You put money in your pocket, but your pocket still got holes in it. You planting these seeds trying to yield a harvest, but you're not yielding one. And he said, I'm the one who dried up the fields. It ain't the devil. I'm the one who dried it up. What I don't want to believe is that we just don't care about the things of God so much. We care so much about ourselves that we'll neglect God because it's consequences for that. So what I want to believe is maybe for all of us, I'm not just talking to y'all. I have my moments. I want to believe that maybe we've looked at these tasks and we've looked at these things and say, you know what? I don't think I can do it. I really need help. I've been too prideful to ask for help. I've been too selfish to acknowledge to prioritize the things of God. I've been through so much in my life. Every time I put myself out there, I get embarrassed or I get hurt. I've seen some things I should not have saw, and it kind of got me a little anxious. It kind of got me a little traumatized. So when you ask me to do something outside my comfort zone, I just don't know how to respond. I want to believe kind of people going through a lot of stuff. And I want to believe that's what it is. And what I wanted to do is give you some examples of people who went through similar situations in the Word of God, because people like to tell you that this book is out of touch with what we're going through. They want to tell you this is an old book. What you see right here is a woman who's been through hell and high water. God used it to evangelize. You've seen somebody who turned their back on Jesus, denied him, and he used him to start the church. You see somebody who was bold for Jesus, lost his faith, and Jesus made a special trip just for one person. So what you're seeing is several examples of it. Don't matter what you're going through or where you at, he will come to you, and he will come to your aid and deliver you from these circumstances. And if you are that person, if you just be real about it, be like, man, shoot, church started at 11. Shoot, I know Jane preaching, we'll probably be out by like 11:45, 12. You already planning your day. If you one of them people, repent. And just be real, like, look, sorry, God, for putting you on a time schedule, besides for when I want stuff. Now, I put you on a time schedule when I'm ready to go. But when it's something I want, I need you to. He's an on-time God. Move, God. Do all this stuff. God, like, man, who you think you're talking to? You want me to hurry up and say what I got to say. But then when you need something, I'm supposed to just swoop in on eagle's wings and just drop it off and keep on moving. Oh, don't worry about serving me. Just have what you want. I don't want to believe that we those people. But at this time, if you are one of those people, if you feel like, you know what, man, I feel like I can give God a little bit more than what I've been doing. I've been selfish in my relationship with God. I've been selfish in my relationship with people. If you're one of those people that feel like, you know what, I've been through so much, God, I've been thinking so much about what I've been through, I didn't think about the fact that you are stronger and more powerful than any circumstance that I ever faced. And I want to get my focus. I want to get my direction right, and I want to do the things you ask me to do. If you're one of them people that say, you know what, I'm tired of being stuck in this same place in my life. I'm tired of going through the motions. I'm tired of coming to church on Wednesday and Sunday and feeling like I'm not having no growth. I'm tired of being in this place. I need to see something different. Well, if you want something different, you got to do something different. They say if you're trying to do the same thing and expect different results, that's insanity. And you driving yourself crazy wondering why things ain't working. If you don't put in the effort, it's in a relationship. If you married, you don't put in the effort, your marriage is going to fail. If you have a relationship with God, you're not putting in the effort. Faith without works is dead. We're not works-based, but if you got faith, it should be some evidence of the faith in your life. So if you're not seeing evidence of the faith, you probably ain't got none right now. And it's okay. So if you're in that spot where you feel like you lost your faith, you feel like you need to be restored, you feel like you need encouragement, you feel like you got to get over this hump, I would love to pray for you. And beyond that, on the practical side, find somebody who you trust and can confide in and just share these things, whether it be a counselor, whether it's somebody in church, and just be honest, like, look, I ain't really feeling it right now. I need help. And another thing, too, if somebody come to you in confidence, when they come to you and they jump off and they take that leap of faith, make sure they got a safe place to land. Because if they come to you in confidence and they tell you something, and you start running your mouth and telling them who, this and that, if I walk in a room and I get stabbed, I'm not going to walk in that room again. And if I do walk in, I'm coming in with a gun. Like, you stabbed me last time, but I got something for you this time. That's just real. So give people a safe place to fall if they need help. But at this time, man, if you're dealing with any of those things that I said and you need prayer, I would love to pray for you. If you feel like you don't want to come down to the front, you feel like you don't want to put yourself out there, I understand, I get it. You don't have to do that. I'll still pray anyway, but if you want to come down, I just want to give you time. And I would love to pray for you because most of the stuff I talked about, I felt like, shoot, the fact that I'm up here praying and doing this stuff right now, it's a miracle to me. I never liked being in front of people. I had low self-esteem. I've had depression. I've had anxiety. I done took medication for anxiety. I done had PTSD, really still dealing with it to a certain degree. So I'm not coming up here talking to you about some stuff that I'm not dealing with myself. And as I was preparing this message, God was just dealing with me like, man, yeah, you can speak on it because you need a lot of help. So there's nothing to be ashamed of and nothing to be scared of. You're not alone. You experience some things, you're seeing some things. And you look at your life, sometimes you're looking like, man, why is my life like this? Sometimes you don't choose the circumstance. Sometimes the circumstance chooses you. But regardless of what it is, God is faithful. And he'll do you just like Thomas. He'll make that special trip just for that one person, just to show you that